Welcome to Fire and Feedback, where we hope to have some serious conversations combined with some old school grit. We're Whiskey Arms, and we're a community of warriors and defenders and protectors, and we believe in the responsible design, training, and use of firearms. We will be speaking freely, and we train relentlessly, and we also honor the weight of the work that we do. You might hear us or see us sipping some bourbon, but we never do that during training. At Whiskey Arms, the pour only comes after the work is done. Safety, discipline, and brotherhood. That's our code. Now pull up a seat and let's get into it. Bob, I got one last question for you. If ChatGPT were to write something about Bob Porras,
Oh God.
and it were to give me back that you were a leader within special operations and the intelligence community as an agent of change, what do you think that means to you? And what does that mean to the people that might be watching this about what it might pertain to them in their job? And particularly if it means something about if you're in a high stress position, whether it is you are law enforcement, fire and rescue, EMS, a special operator, or you're a corporate executive, what do you think an agent of change means?
Well, so change. So let me change the verbiage though, because change is inevitable in life. Period. So in life, business, anything. All right, change is inevitable. But so I don't see things in change. If you change that word to evolve, right? Things evolve, right? Your threat environments, right? They don't change. They just evolve to another aspect of threat, right? So if we're talking business evolves to another aspect of their business. So that's more of I think, a more applicable term to most things than change, because people are reluctant to change. So if you're trying to influence change in a corporate environment from lower to higher, people are reluctant, period, to change. Or it goes down too. People are just used to a certain way of things. So if you change that one word to evolve, right? We're evolving, because that's what's happening. You're evolving. You're either getting bigger as a business, you're getting your education or your awareness is evolving to another level, right? It's not changing; it's evolving, which is a good thing. So that's a more positive aspect towards seeing. If you say change, then that means like an abrupt change, like abrupt change in direction. It's like in life that doesn't happen. It evolves to something else. So that's a huge thing, and a lot of things on people. Even when I just get somebody on the range and I'm trying to analyze what they're doing, right? They're not changing, they're evolving from one level to another, right? It happens when we see that in business, and we see that in other aspects of our lives, but we don't use that as the term, like we're evolving, right? We're changing, and that word alone hits people the wrong way in a lot of areas. So
It sounds forced.
yes,
Like
yeah,
I'm going to make you change for the sake of what I want,
yeah.
rather than a natural evolution that make you better.
Let's evolve to another level, and that applies across the board.
So here's my concern: is that, Scott, I love your perspective on it because you see it on the ground all the time. But where I think we're at now, when we talk about community resilience, here's what I think about community resilience is: are you prepared to understand what risk you may have? Are you trying to reduce those risks as much as possible? And if something still happens, can you handle as much of it as you can at the community level without depending upon somebody else to take care of it for you? And what I see in that, in comparison to a change agent, the need to evolve is being a better word, is that we are stuck in a rut for probably at least 2 decades. What I would say is that we focused a lot in the communities on a certification process. I have a certificate. I completed this training. I'm good to do my job. And then it was a 1% chance that would ever happen. But if it happened because I had a certificate, I'd do it. And we have seen over and over again, and there have been multiple examples of this, where just because you have a training certification doesn't mean that you're prepared to do what you need to do in a stressful environment. No. So we evolved from that, And we evolved into the need for recurring training at the lower level, i.e., we went into, as an example, teachers doing lockdowns on a quarterly basis. Lockdown, lockdown, lockdown. We've done it so much, to be honest, that they're blowing it off in comparison to fire drills because they're like, hey, it's being interruptive. Where the problem is that we're not looking at the end state is what does it mean to your preparedness or your eventual, what is it you want for resiliency? We're not looking at the end state. So the problem is that we're looking at like everything is compliance based. I'm checking the block. I have done 4 drills. I've done a tabletop. I've, I've done a meeting on change, and now we're better than we were last year. But we've not developed a program or a process to look at and say, are we really validating that we're prepared to handle when the worst case scenario happens?
Right. You've seen it. I've seen it. Guys, they'll let's just use law enforcement for example. Incident commander. We're in a rural area here. If something bad were to happen, the closest trauma care is like over 35 minutes away. You know about the golden hour. We don't have to talk about that. But make a long story short, if you get a wounded person there, depending on the wound, they have a 75% right survival rate in that hour.
Yeah, 70-75% if they're there within
there
60 minutes.
minutes.
Right.
It's 90%.
90%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the mindset is, it'll never happen here. And I think I've heard you say this before. Hey, the average civilian person, their odds of getting into a violent confrontation are very low. But in the past few years, that's doubled. That I mean, you're the statistics guy. You know.
Yeah, unfortunately. And let's talk. Well, let's talk. Let's talk about specific. If you're in healthcare,
Yes.
if you're a nurse, there's a 90% chance in 20 years that you will be physically assaulted in your job.
Really?
90% chance.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
My daughter's a nurse.
What does that mean to what you're going to do for your validation and your resiliency program at that hospital?
Yeah. Well, you have to go in there and you have to say, hey, like when I started doing active shooter stuff here, you know, the whole thing because of fire drills. But no, we can talk schools and we can talk emergency action procedures for other places. On one side, you say, hey, do you guys practice fire drills or tornado drills? And if they say no, well, you're probably not going to practice active shooter drills. So what are we doing? But on the other side, schools, fire drill, fire drill, fire drill, you know, so they believe in accountability. Got to have accountability no matter what. I got to have those kids locked down in that classroom no matter what. My perspective, I know we differ on a little bit on this, but I'm like, I don't care if that kid is running around in one of these cornfields out here and he's lost for 2 hours. At least he's not laying, you know, hurting in the school, you know, and trying to get that mental perspective for superintendents, principals that I deal with. They got a whiteboard in their office. I just draw the school, little classrooms here. I said, all right, you're hiding in this classroom. You're locked down. I'm systematically walking through that school looking for somebody to kill. Would you rather be hiding in that classroom or anywhere else in the world? They're like, oh. I go, yeah, accountability during this situation isn't as important as other situations. Now, so I saw a little light bulb start to go, which is great. That's just evolving. That's what we're talking about. Oh, okay. So in this situation, accountability is lower on the priority list. And then I'm like, this is farm country here. So we have these little plots of trees we call woods, right? I go, pretend you're a hunter in those woods and you're shooting at a deer. Does that deer just go behind the next tree and stop? No, he just takes off. You just have to be as smart as a deer. You know, if you can keep the threat out, yes, lockdowns are fine. If you can deny access by using several different things and procedures, you can do that. Sure, you can lock down. But if you can't and the threat's inside, I'd rather my kids not be inside.
Which goes to situational awareness.
Exactly.
It goes to mindset.
Exactly.
It goes to understanding, things like line of sight, covering concealment, those kind of things.
100%.
Yeah.